Today, I'm going to talk very briefly about Nat Turner's Rebellion. Nat Turner's Rebellion, which is also historically referred to as the Southampton Insurrection, was a violent slave uprising that took place in August of 1831 in Southampton County, Virginia. It remains one of, if not the most significant acts of resistance against slavery in all of American history. Nat Turner was an enslaved man and preacher who believed that he was divinely chosen to lead his people to freedom. Deeply religious and intelligent, Turner claimed to have visions from God that convinced him to act against slavery. Life for enslaved people in Virginia was brutal. Families were separated, punishments were severe, and laws stripped them of any rights or protections. And so, on the night of August the 21st, 1831, Turner and a small group of followers began their revolt. Armed with mostly axes, hatchets, and farm tools, they moved from plantation to plantation, killing slaveholding families and freeing enslaved people along the way. Within about 48 hours, nearly 60 white women, children, and men had been killed. Turner's group grew to nearly 70 rebels before it was finally confronted by the state militia. The uprising was then quickly suppressed. Many rebels were killed or captured. Now, Turner himself evaded capture for nearly 2 months, but was eventually found, tried, and executed on November the 11th, 1831. His rebellion sent shockwaves through the South. White Virginians and other Southern states responded with brutal retaliation, killing an estimated 100 to 200 enslaved and free black people, many of whom who had no connection or involvement to Nat Turner's rebellion whatsoever. We learn about Nat Turner's rebellion because of its impact. That's why it matters in American history. In the aftermath of the rebellion, Virginia and other southern states passed even stricter slave codes, banning the education of enslaved people and restricting the movement and assembly of both enslaved and free African Americans. At the same time, the rebellion terrified slaveholders, but inspired many abolitionists in the North who saw Turner's actions as evidence of the moral urgency to end slavery. So, this is one of those events that continues to polarize and entrench attitudes in the North and the South. Southern attitudes toward slavery become increasingly rigid, while in the North, this is taken as evidence that the system, that peculiar institution, in fact, needs to end. Nat Turner remains a deeply complex and controversial figure, viewed by some as a hero of resistance and others as a violent radical. His rebellion exposed the deep injustices of slavery and foreshadowed the growing sectional tensions that would ultimately lead to the American Civil War.